All right, so I just wanted to come on here and overview Gorilla Technology stock before next week. Um, and that's because they just announced they are releasing their earnings on Wednesday, June 18th, after market closes. And this is a stock that I've been following for a very long time. Really, I've been in since $5. I've been pitching this since on this channel since 15. And I think it could personally, break 40 after these earnings. So if you haven't invested, I would definitely suggest investing now. But yeah, they just announced that they would, and they just announced that they'll be releasing their earnings after the market closes on Wednesday, June 18th. So that means that there won't be any price earnings related movements before really Friday, because the market closes on Thursday. And that actually is a good thing, though, because that they're announcing Wednesday. And the reason for that is because last earnings they released on a Monday, and the price saw a little bit of a run up. You can see this run up on earnings day, but they released after market closed, and they were very solid earnings. But the short sellers really took over. I guess maybe there wasn't that huge project catalyst that some investors were maybe expecting, and we kind of entered this lull since April 4th, where we haven't been able to break 20. But now, as of this week, or maybe not this week, but a little bit of last week and then this week, we were able to break 20, which is great, and we even approached 23. So you can see kind of investor confidence coming back as we break that lull, and that is a huge area to break. As we approach these earnings, because we're not kind of stuck in this area. And since we broke kind of almost 23, we've kind of toned it down a little bit. We're not down to 17 again, but we're kind of going to hover around, I'd assume, the 20 level, maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower, until that earnings date on after hours on Wednesday. That's just because I guess investors were expecting maybe earnings this week, because they said first half of June to release the earnings, but really they just announced the earnings in the first half of June. They will be in the second half technically. So we are in a very good spot for the earnings in terms of what to expect. I always look for increasing revenues, increasing net incomes. That I'm very confident that they'll hit that. Just because they're a growing company. There's really no reason that they should regress. But I think the biggest thing that will send this stock higher is their project updates and maybe any new projects. They haven't announced a project in a very long time. It's been probably months since they've announced a new project. And obviously they're not doing nothing. Their CEO has expressed on, webinars and fireside chats and just on Twitter that he's been flying around a ton. They've hired a bunch of new people to help with relations in the U.S. and Taiwan and China, whatever. So they definitely aren't doing nothing over these last few months. My guess is that they're really loading up a huge project to announce in their earnings release. They kind of they don't want to just announce it in normal PR. This earnings release will be very official, and it'll make this project really get the spotlight. And they even say here, and when they announced that they would be announcing in the first half of June, they're poised to report continued progress across key markets, including Southeast Asia, USA, Latin America, and the UK. So again, most definitely will be announcing some sort of progress, whether that's hopefully that maybe is a new project or some announcements on one of the bigger projects that were kind of up in the air, like the Amazon project or the schooling project that they were going to do in Taiwan. If you see that happen, you could easily see this thing hit 30 next week. I've seen $5 moves in a day without earnings. So with earnings, I have no idea what's going to happen to the stock. I've never really been an investor for such a big day like this. This is probably the biggest day in Gorilla stock history, if we're being honest, which is something very exciting. Obviously there's risk to that. They could just go back down to 17 or maybe even a little lower if they disappoint with the project release, or if the revenues are a little underwhelming. But this could be a huge day for Gorilla Technology stock. Again, never seen before something this big. We could see probably the biggest price move in Gorilla history. Again, we've never seen this thing double in a day, but small companies like this do it very often. Again, you could see something be announced that makes investors think that this is $1 billion company, and it'll just hit $1 billion in market cap. It's so small still that something like that could happen. So if you are not invested yet, I would highly recommend investing before either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday next week. If you are invested, I would be very excited for this date. I'm going to be sitting around and just watching. You're going to see some after hours price moves, so you're going to get a little taste of what maybe could come on Friday. But this is huge, huge, huge news for Gorilla Technology. This could be, this could really set the stock price up a ton. Obviously, I think I'm being a little conservative with a $30 price target for the very near term. I think it could easily break 40 if we see something good, or even 50. In the long term, I think, we could break 100 in the next year or two, and just keep on going. This company is really set up for success. The management has done a great job kind of managing all the obstacles that have come their way. The CEO is learning a lot. He's not releasing specific dates of stuff so that he can't miss deadlines anymore. It's very smart, and I think they've been building up a huge project to announce in this earnings report. So let me know what you think, and just hopefully got a wish for good earnings report. And yeah, thanks for watching.